Most people want to improve their lives. They want to feel proud of who they are, where they're going, and how they're showing up each day. But the truth is, real success doesn't start with luck or outside help. It starts with you, your mindset, your habits, your choices. Every single day, you have a chance to grow or stay the same. And that decision adds up, fast. In this video, we're not going to give you vague tips or generic feel-good talk. This is about what really works. We're going to walk through exactly how to become your best self, not someday, but starting today. You'll learn how to cut out what's holding you back, how to build strong daily habits, and how to stay committed even when it gets tough. You'll get practical steps you can use in your real life, not just something that sounds nice in theory. If you've ever felt stuck, tired of repeating the same patterns, or frustrated with your lack of progress, then keep watching. This video will challenge you, but in a good way. You'll be reminded that you don't need to be perfect. You just need to start. Whether you're rebuilding your focus, trying to break bad habits, or learning to trust yourself again, this is for you. Because success isn't about who talks the most, it's about who shows up, every day, ready to do the work. And that can be you. So let's get into it, step by step, and show you how to take control of your life, unlock your potential, and become the strongest version of yourself. It starts right here. Let's go. Chapter 1. Take full responsibility for everything in your life. The moment you decide to take full responsibility for your life, everything begins to change, not just slowly or on the surface, but deeply and permanently. It is the very first step in becoming your best self, because you stop waiting for someone else to come and fix things. You stop blaming, you stop making excuses, and you start facing yourself with truth. When you do this, you don't feel weaker, you feel stronger. Because responsibility is not a burden, it is the root of freedom. It gives you back control. If your life is not where you want it to be, there is only one place to look: within. It's not about guilt. It's not about shaming yourself for the past. It's about understanding something powerful. No matter what has happened to you, you still get to choose how to respond to it. You get to choose what you do from this point forward. This isn't always easy. Some things were out of your control. Some events, people and problems came into your life without your consent. But what's in your control is what you do with it now. And that's where everything starts. Taking responsibility is the choice to no longer hand your power over to circumstances, other people, or past pain. It means you no longer say, "I can't help it," or "that's just how I am." It means you stop waiting for perfect conditions or outside validation. Instead, you begin to work with what you have and who you are right now. You become honest with yourself, and you face the truth about your habits, your decisions, your beliefs, and your role in your own life story. This is where transformation begins. It's not in grand resolutions or overnight change. It's in the moment you decide that you are in charge of your next step. Not your boss, not your past, not your parents, not the economy, not the weather, and not the person who hurt you, just you. That's the most powerful truth anyone can give you. You are responsible for your choices, your growth, your reactions, your mindset, and your habits. And that means you are responsible for your success. There is something deeply humbling and liberating about facing yourself honestly. You see where you've lied to yourself, where you've waited too long, where you've blamed others instead of acting. But instead of feeling ashamed, you feel awake. And from that place of honesty, you start making better choices. You stop arguing with reality, and you start working with it. You realize that your energy is better spent building something new than complaining about what you didn't get. You trade blame for action. You trade excuses for progress. You trade comfort for clarity. Taking responsibility also means that you stop expecting life to be fair or easy. You accept that challenge is part of growth. Life is not about avoiding problems. It's about becoming the kind of person who can handle them. And that happens when you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What can I do with this now?" That simple shift in mindset moves you from victim to leader, from helpless to capable, from frustrated to focused. There's nothing passive about personal responsibility. It demands courage. It requires discipline. You have to stop blaming your schedule and start managing your time. You have to stop saying you're not motivated and start building habits that create discipline. You have to stop waiting for someone to believe in you and start showing up for yourself, even when no one else does. This is what separates people who grow from people who stay stuck. The difference is not luck, talent, or intelligence. It is the willingness to own their lives. It's easy to say, "I would be more successful if I had better parents, more support, more time, more money, or fewer problems." But the truth is, no one starts with perfect conditions. Everyone has a story. Everyone has a struggle. But some people still rise. Not because life gave them everything, but because they decided to rise anyway. They used their pain as fuel. They turned failure into feedback. They looked at their life and said, "This may not be my fault, but it is my responsibility." That decision is what makes all the difference. Once you accept responsibility, you begin to grow fast. You start noticing your patterns. You see where your words and actions are out of alignment. You stop pretending. You realize that success isn't about being perfect, it's about being intentional. And when you're responsible, you stop wasting energy on the things you can't control and start investing it in what you can. You build discipline, one choice at a time. You keep promises to yourself. You get clear about what you want, and you stop waiting for permission to go after it. Daily life becomes your training ground. You begin to understand that your choices are shaping you, even when no one is watching. Whether you wake up early or sleep in, whether you scroll through your phone or read something that makes you better, whether you face a difficult conversation or avoid it again, all of it counts. And all of it is your responsibility. No one else can build your character. No one else can think your thoughts, or build your habits, or develop your mindset. That's your job. And it's the most important job you'll ever have. There's no transformation without ownership. You can't change what you don't claim. If you say, "That's just how I am," you give away your power. If you say, "That's who I used to be, but I'm changing," you take it back. Responsibility is not about being perfect, it's about being accountable. You admit where you've fallen short, and then you rise. You apologize when needed, but you also move forward. You stop waiting for someone to rescue you. You stop blaming your past. You stop seeking approval. You become the kind of person who can rely on yourself. This shift is uncomfortable. At first it feels heavy, but in time it becomes light. Because when you take responsibility, you no longer feel like a prisoner to life. You are the builder. You are the driver. You are the decision maker. You stop waiting to feel ready. You take action anyway. You stop waiting for the perfect plan. You start with what you have. You stop waiting to be saved. You realize you've always had the power to change your direction. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. You begin to notice where others are still blaming, still complaining, still waiting. But instead of judging them, you stay focused on your own path. Because real responsibility is not about control, it's about growth. You stop trying to control other people, and you start mastering yourself. You stop reacting emotionally, and you start responding wisely. You stop letting your emotions lead your choices, and you start using your choices to guide your emotions. When you live this way, you develop quiet strength. You trust yourself more. You respect yourself more. Because you know you're doing the work. You know you're showing up, even when it's hard, even when no one else sees it. That kind of self-respect can't be faked. It's built through consistent effort, through hard choices, through ownership. And that's what separates real growth from short-term change. You're not chasing quick results. You're becoming a better human. You don't wait for the perfect mood to act. You act your way into a better mood. You don't wait for the world to be easier. You become stronger. You don't wait for motivation. You build momentum. That's responsibility. And once you take it fully, your life begins to change in every area. Your health improves because you take charge of your habits. Your relationships get better because you stop blaming and start listening. Your goals feel more achievable because you're not hoping anymore. You're acting. This is where confidence comes from, not from talent, not from luck, but from the habit of showing up for yourself every day. You start to believe in yourself because you keep proving that you can follow through. And that belief builds brick by brick. You don't need anyone else to give it to you. You earn it. And once you earn it, no one can take it away from you. Life won't always be fair. People won't always treat you right. Things won't always go as planned. But when you take responsibility, you learn how to respond instead of react. You learn how to adapt. You stop falling apart when things go wrong, because you've trained yourself to rise. You know who you are. You know what you value. You know what you're building. That kind of clarity gives you peace, even in chaos. You also start treating others differently. You stop needing to be right. You listen more. You take ownership of your part in conflicts. You become humble, not weak. Humble. You understand that every person is responsible for their own life, and you respect that. You stop trying to fix people. You lead by example. You inspire others through your own growth. And that's the highest kind of leadership, not position or power, but personal responsibility. The most powerful thing you can do for your future is to take full responsibility for your present. Not tomorrow, not next week. Right now, decide that you are no longer going to be a passive character in your own story. Decide that you are going to lead your life with intention. Decide that you will face your flaws with honesty, not shame. Decide that you will no longer run from the truth. Decide that you will rise, not because you have to, but because you can. From this point forward, everything you do matters. Every small decision, every habit, every choice to act or delay. And the more responsibility you take, the more power you gain. You begin to trust yourself. You stop fearing change. You stop resenting challenges. You understand that the only way forward is through. This is not just about success in the world. This is about becoming someone you're proud of. Someone who can look in the mirror and say, I'm not perfect, but I'm responsible. I'm growing. That's real self-respect. That's the foundation of a meaningful life. Not chasing status, not comparing yourself to others, but showing up for yourself with clarity, consistency, and courage. Responsibility is not a task, it's a way of life. It's how you move from confusion to clarity, from excuses to action, from fear to strength. And it all starts with one decision: I will own my life, no matter what. From this moment on, I am responsible. That is where your power begins. That is where your best self is born. And that is how success truly starts with you. Chapter 2. Build strong habits that shape your daily success. Every day is an opportunity to build the person you are becoming. Not in some grand, far-off way, but in the quiet structure of your routines, your rituals, and the choices you make without thinking. That is the real architecture of your future. Success is not a sudden event. It's not a finish line you suddenly cross. It's the sum total of the habits you live by. What you do repeatedly becomes who you are, and who you are determines the results you get. So if you want to take control of your direction, you need to take control of what you repeatedly do when no one is watching. Habits don't wait for the perfect moment to form. They are formed in real life, in discomfort, in fatigue, in boredom. The truth is, most people don't fail because they're not talented. They fail because their days are controlled by weak habits, impulsive scrolling, late nights, skipped tasks, missed commitments. Not because they planned to fail, but because they didn't plan how to win. Building strong habits means creating a personal system that works even when your motivation fades. Because motivation is a spark, it gets you started, but habits are the structure. Habits are the rails that keep your life on track when you're tired, distracted, or uninspired. And the only way to make real progress is to build those rails before the chaos of life tries to knock you off course. What makes a habit strong is not just how often you do it, it's the meaning behind it. If you see your morning routine as a chore, it will never become consistent. But if you attach that same routine to your future, if you understand that the small act of waking up early or writing your goals is part of your larger vision, you begin to take it seriously. You begin to see that your identity is tied to your behavior, and behavior is shaped by habit. Every action you repeat is a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. You can't control everything in life, but you can control what you show up for, how you use your time, and how much discipline you give to the actions that matter most. Strong habits start small. They begin in the simple decision to do the right thing now, even when it's inconvenient. Waking up at the same time every day, writing down your goals, exercising even for 10 minutes, preparing your meals, tracking your progress. All of these are actions that might seem unremarkable in the moment. But over time they create momentum. They train your mind to trust yourself. They remove friction from your path, and when the foundation is strong, life becomes easier, not because life itself changes, but because your ability to handle it does. No one becomes disciplined by accident. You earn it. You shape it. You reinforce it with your decisions every day. Strong habits come from clarity. You need to know exactly what matters and why. If you don't know your priorities, everything will feel important. And when everything feels important, you'll waste time on the things that don't move you forward. Habits remove the burden of decision-making. They allow you to act without internal debate. Should I read or scroll? Should I plan my day or just react? Should I train or skip? Strong habits answer those questions before they arise. They remove the need to negotiate with yourself. You don't have to feel like doing it. You do it because it's who you are. There's a point where habits become identity. You no longer say, I'm trying to wake up early. You say, I wake up early. It becomes automatic, natural, embedded. That shift happens when you've repeated the behavior enough times with enough intention that it's now part of your internal blueprint. But here's what's critical. The consistency must come first. You cannot become someone new without acting like them today. The old version of you will always try to reclaim the wheel. That's why habit building isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily battle of alignment. It's the small act of choosing your long-term vision over your short-term urges. And each time you choose discipline, you get stronger. Each time you follow through, you become more capable, not just externally, but mentally. Your self-respect grows, your confidence increases, and your belief in yourself deepens. There will be days you don't feel like it. Days where you're tired, irritated, anxious, or just numb. That's when habits matter most. Discipline isn't about doing the work when it's easy. It's about showing up when it's hard. It's in those moments that your habits protect you from spiraling. They give you something to hold on to. A pattern, a rhythm, a structure. And when your life has structure, your mind has peace. You don't wake up drowning in decisions or confusion. You wake up with a plan, a path, a way forward. That's the power of habits, not just in creating success, but in creating internal clarity. But habits don't grow in chaos. They grow in systems. You need to create an environment that supports the behaviors you want to repeat. If your phone is the first thing you see when you wake up, you'll get pulled into distraction. If your goals are out of sight, they'll be out of mind. If your surroundings are full of noise, clutter, or confusion, your mind will follow suit. So make your environment serve your mission. Put your tools where you can see them. Make the good choice the easy choice. Set visual cues. Remove temptation. Automate discipline. And keep track of your progress. What gets tracked gets improved. When you measure what matters, you get better at it. You start seeing patterns, and those patterns tell you what's working and what's not. You begin to take ownership of your development, not by hope, but by data, awareness, and intention. There is no perfect habit system. There is only the system that works for you. You have to test, adjust, refine, and personalize it. What matters most is that it works consistently, even if it's not flashy, even if it's not impressive to anyone else. Your life doesn't change when you do something big once. It changes when you do something small every day. Progress isn't about extremes, it's about alignment. Are your habits aligned with your values? Are your actions aligned with your vision? Are your days aligned with the future you say you want? If not, it's not a mystery why success feels out of reach. Your time is being spent in the wrong places, and the only way to change that is to build better habits. Habits that turn intention into action, and action into outcomes. Every strong habit you build is a form of personal power. It gives you freedom from procrastination. It gives you protection from chaos. It gives you the ability to move forward even in uncertainty. And the more strong habits you stack, the more unshakable you become. Not because life gets easier, but because you've trained yourself to handle it with order, discipline, and intention. You know what to do. You know why it matters. And you know how to execute. That is what builds success, not just once but over a lifetime. It begins with one habit. One choice, one decision to stop living by impulse and start living by principle. That's how your life changes, by showing up with purpose every single day. Chapter 3. Eliminate distractions and focus on what truly matters. Most people don't fail because they lack time or talent, but because their attention is scattered across things that don't matter. The world is loud, filled with noise pulling you in 100 directions, promising instant pleasure but stealing long-term clarity. If you want to move forward in life, you need to stop letting your time be consumed by everything that's urgent but meaningless. The problem is not that you can't focus, it's that you haven't learned to protect it. Until you do, your energy will be drained by shallow tasks, empty conversations, and useless information that robs you of real progress. Every time you get distracted, you pay a price. Not just in time, but in attention, energy, and mental sharpness. It takes far more effort to return to deep work than it does to fall into distraction. Most of the day is lost not to big interruptions, but to tiny leaks, checking notifications, opening tabs, switching tasks, reading headlines, replying to things that don't need you. These moments add up, and over time, they steal your momentum. If you want to build something meaningful, you need to train your brain to ignore what doesn't matter and double down on what does. Distraction is not just external, it starts in the mind. Most people avoid focus because focus requires effort. It requires you to face your priorities, to confront what's uncomfortable, and to resist the easy way out. Scrolling is easier than solving problems. Small talk is easier than deep thinking. Reacting is easier than creating. If you don't learn to override your desire for comfort, you'll stay busy, but not effective. You'll fill your hours, but stay far from your goals. The only way to build a focused life is to be intentional with your inputs, your space, and your commitments. You can't focus if you're constantly reacting to the world. Start by deciding what matters. Not everything in your life deserves your energy. If you try to chase too many things, you'll move in circles. You need clarity about what actually moves your life forward. Whether it's building a business, improving your health, strengthening your character, or deepening your relationships, define what you're willing to go all in on. Once you're clear, everything that doesn't serve that mission becomes noise, and the moment you treat distraction as noise, you gain power over it. You stop treating everything as equal. You stop being a slave to your environment. You start being the one who sets the terms. Focus thrives in simplicity. The more clutter in your environment, the harder it is to think clearly. Clean your space. Remove the unnecessary. Organize your tools. Keep only what supports your highest priorities. Your external environment reflects your internal state. If your space is chaotic, your mind will follow. If your desk is clean, your thoughts have room to breathe. Don't underestimate the power of physical order. It creates mental space, and mental space is where focus begins. You also need to reclaim your time. Not all hours are equal. 1 hour of deep, focused work is more valuable than 4 hours of scattered effort. To reclaim your time, start by protecting your best energy hours. For most people, the first few hours of the day are the sharpest. Don't waste them checking messages, replying to emails, or doing low-level tasks. Use that time for your most important work. Turn off notifications. Block interruptions. Create a window of time where you can go deep without distraction. That's where breakthroughs happen. That's where progress gets built. Say no more often. Distraction is not always a screen. It's also people, obligations, and opportunities that don't align with your purpose. You don't owe your time to everyone. You don't need to explain yourself every time you say no. If you say yes to everything, you'll have no space left for what truly matters. Protect your time like it's your most valuable resource, because it is. The people who move forward are not the busiest. They're the most deliberate. They understand that life is short, and attention is limited, so they treat it with respect. Train your brain to focus. Just like the body needs exercise, the mind needs structure. Start with short, focused sessions. Set a timer. Choose one task. Eliminate all distractions. Work with full attention. Over time, increase the length. Build your focus muscle gradually. The more you do it, the stronger it gets. Eventually, focus becomes a habit. It becomes natural. You no longer chase stimulation. You find satisfaction in depth. That's when you know you're growing. When shallow things no longer excite you, and deep work begins to feel rewarding. Discipline and focus are connected. You can't focus if you can't say no to distraction, and you can't say no unless you have a reason that's bigger than comfort. That reason comes from purpose. When your vision is clear, the cost of distraction becomes obvious. Every wasted hour is time stolen from your dream. Every impulsive click is a delay in your mission. That's the mindset shift. Focus isn't just about efficiency, it's about integrity. It's about living in alignment with what you said matters. And when your actions match your values, you feel peace. You feel momentum. You feel real control. Technology can be a tool or a trap. You decide. Use it with intention. Turn off unnecessary notifications. Keep your phone out of reach during deep work. Unfollow accounts that bring noise, not value. Use apps that track your time, not waste it. Take regular breaks from screens. Give your brain time to reset. Stillness is fuel for focus. When you're constantly stimulated, your attention span shrinks. But when you embrace silence, your mind recovers. You begin to think clearly again. You begin to hear your own thoughts, not just the noise of the world. Mastering focus also means mastering your inner voice. Many people distract themselves to avoid thinking, but you can't improve your life unless you're willing to sit with your thoughts. Reflect regularly. Ask yourself hard questions. Audit your time, your energy, your goals. Where are you wasting effort? Where are you drifting? What are you avoiding? The more honest you are with yourself, the easier it becomes to cut out what's not helping you. Self-awareness creates the foundation for lasting change. Focus requires courage. It means doing fewer things, but doing them better. It means going against the culture of constant stimulation. It means choosing growth over comfort, clarity over noise, and depth over surface. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Because when you learn to focus, you begin to see results that others miss. You begin to finish what you start. You begin to live with intention, not reaction. And that's when real transformation happens. Not from doing more, but from doing what matters most, with full attention and relentless consistency. Chapter 4. Develop deep self-awareness through honest daily reflection. Most people go through life reacting rather than understanding. They move from one task to the next, from one emotion to another, without ever pausing to ask why they feel what they feel or why they do what they do. Without self-awareness, you are a stranger to yourself, living from habit rather than intention. You might work hard, follow routines, chase goals, but if you don't understand yourself, you'll end up running in the wrong direction. Every meaningful change in life begins with honest reflection, the kind that doesn't seek comfort but truth. That's where clarity starts. That's where personal power begins. Self-awareness is not about judgment. It's about observation. It's about noticing your thoughts without being controlled by them. It's about paying attention to your behaviors, your reactions, and your choices, not with shame or pride, but with curiosity and discipline. When you reflect daily, you begin to notice patterns. You begin to catch your triggers. You start seeing how your mindset influences your actions, and how your actions create your results. You stop blaming the outside world for what you haven't faced inside yourself. That shift alone can change your entire life. A person who understands themselves deeply becomes very hard to manipulate. They don't get carried away by opinions. They don't react to every challenge with emotion. They remain grounded because they've taken the time to know what they value, what they fear, and what they truly want. Most people avoid reflection because they don't want to face the truth. But you can't grow without it. You can't fix what you don't understand. You can't improve what you haven't acknowledged. Reflection is not a ritual. It's a tool for transformation. It's how you check your progress. It's how you build integrity between your actions and your purpose. You don't need hours of solitude to reflect. All you need is honesty and consistency. Even 10 minutes at the end of the day can change the way you live. Ask yourself what went well and why. Ask where you fell short and what you can do better. Don't excuse your mistakes. Don't ignore your progress. Notice both. Hold yourself accountable without being harsh. Encourage yourself without lying. Treat yourself like someone worth helping, because you are. And the more you listen to your inner world, the more you'll understand how to manage your outer one. Reflection turns experience into learning. You can go through the same situation 10 times and still learn nothing if you're not paying attention. But one moment of honest insight can teach you more than years of going through the motions. It's not enough to live. You need to examine how you're living. Otherwise, you risk spending years climbing a ladder that's leaning against the wrong wall. Reflection is how you course correct. What is dude deceive? It's dude solve. It's dude. It's how you make sure your actions match your goals, and your goals match your values. Without it, success becomes hollow and effort becomes scattered. One of the best ways to reflect is by writing things down. When you write, you slow your thoughts. You give form to what's unclear. You start noticing how your emotions shift and what triggers them. You begin to spot beliefs that don't serve you and stories that keep you stuck. You get to know your true voice, the one beneath the noise. A daily journal doesn't have to be poetic. It just has to be real. A few sentences about your day, your challenges, your habits, and your thoughts can reveal more than you expect. The goal isn't perfection. It's clarity. Writing helps you think better because it forces you to be specific. Reflection also means looking at your day without excuses. It's easy to blame circumstances. It's easy to say you were too tired, too busy, too distracted. But reflection holds you to a higher standard. It asks, did I live today with discipline? Did I speak with honesty? Did I keep my promises? And when the answer is no, it doesn't shame you. It challenges you. It calls you to do better, not because you're broken, but because you're responsible. Responsibility doesn't weigh you down. It wakes you up. It reminds you that change is always possible. And the first step is awareness. You need to be aware of how you speak to yourself. Your inner dialogue shapes your outer reality. If you constantly criticize yourself, you drain your energy and shrink your confidence. If you ignore your emotions, they will eventually control you. But if you notice your thoughts without believing all of them, you regain control. You can challenge negative patterns. You can redirect your focus. You can shift your identity from someone who reacts to someone who responds. That level of control doesn't come from motivation. It comes from reflection, from facing your truth every single day and making conscious choices, even when it's uncomfortable. Reflection is how you learn to trust yourself. When you spend time with your thoughts, you start to notice what's real and what's noise. You stop chasing what other people want for you. You start listening to what you know is right. That kind of clarity makes you calm. It helps you say no without guilt. It helps you make decisions without fear. It helps you stay grounded when life gets chaotic. The more time you spend understanding your values and your patterns, the less likely you are to be thrown off course by things that don't matter. Honest reflection also makes you more compassionate. When you see your flaws clearly, you stop judging others harshly. When you admit your mistakes, you understand that growth takes time. You stop pretending to have it all together. You start connecting from a place of truth. That's when relationships deepen. That's when communication becomes real. That's when your presence becomes authentic. People are drawn to those who are deeply aware, not because they are perfect, but because they are honest. You can't build a better version of yourself without first understanding who you are right now. Self-awareness is the foundation. It gives you a mirror. It gives you feedback. It helps you stay humble and hungry at the same time. Every day you live without reflection is a day where your habits run on autopilot. Your emotions go unchecked, and your energy moves without direction. But one day of reflection can shift your mindset, reset your focus, and elevate your standards. It's not dramatic. It's not loud. But it's powerful. It's the quiet work that makes everything else stronger. To become your best self, don't wait for life to teach you the same lesson over and over. Take the time each day to ask better questions. Pay attention to your actions. Be honest about your motives. And most of all, commit to knowing yourself deeply, not for the sake of feeling good, but for the sake of living well. When you reflect with discipline, your awareness sharpens, your habits improve, and your direction becomes clear. And in that clarity, you'll find the strength to change what needs changing and build what's truly worth building. Chapter 5. Create a clear vision and stick to your plan. Most people wander through life, hoping things will eventually fall into place. They wish for clarity, for momentum, for the right opportunity to show up at the right time. But without a clear vision, there is no direction. Without direction, even the hardest work leads nowhere. Clarity is not something you wait for, it's something you create. It doesn't come from having everything figured out. It comes from deciding what matters most, eliminating what doesn't, and moving toward what you believe in with conviction, even when the road isn't fully visible. When you create a clear vision, you give your life a structure. You move from reacting to designing. You stop being pulled by distractions and start being led by intention. Your days begin to serve your purpose, rather than just pass by. The problem is that most people confuse goals with vision. Goals are specific achievements. Vision is the bigger picture. It's the emotional, psychological, and practical outcome of the life you're building. A clear vision answers deeper questions. What kind of person are you becoming? What impact do you want to make? What values must guide your decisions every day? To form a vision that drives you, you must first remove the noise. What the world expects of you doesn't matter. What other people chase is not your path. Vision starts with honesty. You need to be real about what lights you up, what challenges you, what future excites you and scares you at the same time. This isn't about fantasy, it's about alignment. You need to picture the kind of life that's worth the struggle. If the picture isn't meaningful to you, you won't have the resilience to stay the course when setbacks arrive. The vision must be personal, vivid, and grounded in your deepest values, not someone else's version of success. Clarity of vision isn't found in thinking endlessly. It's forged through reflection, action, and constant refinement. You don't have to wait for the full blueprint. You start with what you know. You write down what matters, what you stand for, what kind of person you respect and aspire to be. Then you ask yourself if your current actions reflect that standard. Often they don't. That's the gap between who you are and who you could be. Your vision gives you a reason to close that gap every single day. It pushes you to live with more focus and less regret. But vision alone changes nothing unless it's followed by a clear plan. A plan turns a dream into a process. It breaks the vision into daily action. You don't need to figure out everything at once. You just need to know what step to take next. 1 hour of focus on what truly matters is worth more than a full day of aimless effort. Your plan should be simple, measurable, and aligned with your vision. Too much complexity kills execution. Consistency beats intensity. The key is to work the plan with discipline, not emotion. Some days will be smooth, others will test you, but if you stick to the plan, the results will come. The plan should evolve as you grow, but the commitment must stay firm. There will be days you feel uncertain, times when nothing seems to be working. That's when people quit, not because their plan failed, but because they stopped trusting it. If the vision is clear and the plan is aligned, trust the process. The biggest mistake is changing the destination, because the journey got hard. Struggles don't mean you're on the wrong path. They're proof that you're challenging your limits. The more disciplined you are in sticking to your path, the more capable you become. Progress is earned through endurance. Execution requires saying no more often than yes. It requires guarding your time, your energy, and your attention. Every distraction pulls you off course. Every detour delays your growth. When your vision is clear, your decisions become easier. You stop chasing short-term comfort. You stop following people who have no direction. You stop compromising with your lower self. You choose to act from purpose, even when motivation fades. Because the truth is, results don't come from feeling good. They come from doing what's necessary, especially when it's not easy. You must also expect resistance from within and from the outside. People around you may not understand your vision. That's fine. It's not their job to believe in it. It's your job to pursue it. Doubt will come both from others and from your own mind. But doubt doesn't have to control you. Fear doesn't have to stop you. You move forward anyway. Every time you show up when it's hard, you strengthen your belief. You prove to yourself that you are not ruled by feelings, but led by intention. When you're committed to your vision, you begin to live with more integrity. You stop negotiating with laziness. You stop allowing your weaknesses to drive your choices. You start choosing habits that align with who you want to be, not just how you feel in the moment. This kind of consistency builds momentum, and with momentum comes transformation. The more you align your days with your deeper purpose, the stronger you become. You don't need motivation when you've built discipline. You don't need approval when your vision is clear. You just need to keep going. One honest step at a time. A strong vision also helps you recover from setbacks. Life will challenge your plans. It will knock you down, test your patience, and force you to adjust. But if you have a clear reason for why you started, you won't give up easily. You'll adapt. You'll learn. You'll use the setback as fuel, not an excuse. People with weak vision quit at the first obstacle. People with clear vision grow through it. They know the cost of giving up. They understand the value of persistence. That mindset separates those who live with intention from those who only talk about it. Sticking to your plan doesn't mean being rigid. It means being consistent. Adjust your approach if needed, but never lose sight of your end goal. Every day, ask yourself if your actions are moving you closer to your vision. If they aren't, change your behavior, not the vision. Results take time. Progress is not always obvious. But if you keep showing up, keep executing the plan, and keep refining your focus, your life will shift in powerful ways. At the end of the day, success belongs to those who are clear on where they're going and relentless in taking steps to get there. A clear vision gives you a compass. A solid plan gives you the path. Discipline gives you the strength to walk it. And commitment gives you the endurance to keep walking, even when the road gets steep. Without these, potential means nothing, but with them you become unstoppable. You stop waiting for things to change, and you start becoming the person who makes them change. That is how a strong vision transforms your life, from the inside out. Chapter 6. Strengthen your discipline by doing hard things daily. Most people avoid discomfort. They build their days around convenience, doing what feels easy, staying in familiar patterns that ask little from them. Over time, this creates a life filled with avoidance. The mind weakens, the body softens, and potential remains untouched. Discipline does not grow in ease. It is forged in effort. When you deliberately choose to do hard things every day, not once in a while, but consistently, you train yourself to stop running from challenges. You teach your mind that struggle is not a threat, but a path. It's through the hard things that you build the kind of strength that lasts. Discipline is not about being in the mood. It's not about waiting for motivation to strike. It's built by acting with purpose regardless of how you feel. That early morning when the bed feels warm and your body feels tired, that's the moment you build discipline by getting up anyway. That workout you don't feel like doing, that difficult conversation you want to avoid, that task you've been procrastinating, all of these are opportunities. Most people see them as problems, but the disciplined mind sees them as training. Not everything needs to feel good to be good for you. The uncomfortable moments are where the real growth happens. Each time you face a hard thing head-on, your willpower expands. You build a new threshold for discomfort, and with every step, you start proving to yourself that you're not a prisoner to impulses. You're not ruled by convenience. You're capable of choosing the hard path when it's the right one. That decision, repeated often enough, becomes your identity. You start to see yourself not as someone who avoids, but as someone who acts. Not as someone who hesitates, but as someone who executes. That shift in how you see yourself is the foundation of discipline. But the process doesn't happen overnight. It requires repetition. You don't need to conquer massive challenges every day. What matters is that you do something hard on purpose, something that stretches your patience, challenges your will, or tests your endurance. It could be waking up earlier than you want, pushing through physical fatigue, finishing something you'd rather delay. The key is consistency. If you train yourself to do one hard thing every single day, no matter how small, you start building trust in yourself. That trust is essential because it gives you the courage to tackle bigger things. Discipline thrives on structure. Without a plan, your day is easily stolen by distractions. You must create a routine that demands something from you, a system that keeps you honest, especially when no one is watching. Too many people rely on external pressure to perform, but true discipline is internal. It's doing the work when no one claps. It's showing up because it aligns with who you want to be, not because someone else is telling you to. That inner structure, designed by you for you, becomes the backbone of your strength. You will face resistance. Every disciplined person does. There will be days your mind whispers excuses, your body craves rest, and the world offers temptations. The disciplined person hears those voices, but doesn't obey them. They recognize the weakness, but they don't give it power. They lean into the difficulty, knowing that each time they do, they sharpen their edge. They don't seek perfection. They seek resilience. Discipline isn't about being flawless. It's about showing up, regardless of how messy or inconvenient life gets. It's also important to measure your effort, not just your results. Results take time, and they're often outside of your control. Effort, however, is yours entirely. Did you do the hard thing today? Did you choose progress over comfort? Did you keep your word to yourself even when no one else was looking? That's how you measure discipline, not in grand gestures, but in the quiet choices repeated daily. And when the results eventually come, and they will, they won't surprise you, because deep down, you'll know you earned every inch of them. Doing hard things daily also simplifies life. It cuts through the noise. When you train yourself to seek discomfort, you become less affected by circumstances. You no longer waste time waiting for things to be easy. You stop chasing shortcuts and start focusing on effort. You realize that growth doesn't require perfect conditions, it only requires commitment. And when you've done something hard in the morning, the rest of the day feels lighter. You carry that momentum with you. That sense of accomplishment becomes fuel for the next challenge. Another benefit of this approach is clarity. The more you confront difficult tasks, the more you learn about yourself. You discover your limits, but you also discover how often you underestimate your own strength. You begin to recognize the excuses you use to stay small, and as you replace those excuses with action, you gain control over your mind. That control is freedom. When you know you can trust yourself to act with discipline, you no longer feel trapped by moods, distractions, or temptations. You're no longer reactive, you're deliberate. And when others around you notice, they'll likely admire your discipline, but what they won't see is the work behind it. The early mornings, the long hours, the moments of doubt you pushed through. Discipline doesn't announce itself. It's silent and steady. It's not about appearing strong. It's about being strong. Not for show, but for yourself. Not to impress others, but to fulfill your own potential. You don't need to compare your path to anyone else's. Your hard things are yours to define. What matters is that they move you forward. Maybe it's getting in shape. Maybe it's building a business, learning a skill, or being a better parent. Whatever it is, do something every day that aligns with that aim, even when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it's uncomfortable. That's how you build the internal muscle to endure, to grow, and to lead yourself when things get difficult. In the end, your ability to discipline yourself shapes your future more than anything else. Talent helps, but discipline sustains. Intelligence matters, but discipline multiplies its effect. Ambition is important, but without discipline, it fades quickly. The life you want is on the other side of repeated effort. No shortcuts, no hacks, just consistent hard work directed by a clear purpose. When you make that your standard, you stop hoping for change and start creating it. You stop talking about potential and start becoming it. That is the quiet power of doing hard things daily. Chapter 7. Break through fear by taking bold, small actions. Fear thrives in silence. It grows in your thoughts when you hesitate to act. It feeds on delay, gaining strength every time you avoid doing what you know you must. But the strange thing about fear is that it weakens the moment you confront it, and you don't need to make grand moves to face it. You just need to begin. One small action, one simple step taken with intention, can puncture the illusion fear creates. Most people think they need to feel brave before they act, but the truth is, you become brave by acting. Waiting for courage is a trap. If you want to move forward, you must move first. Bold action doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's saying what you've avoided for years. Sometimes it's walking into a room you've been afraid to enter. Sometimes it's just making a call, sending a message, or showing up when your mind offers 1,000 reasons to stay hidden. The power of small, bold actions lies in their ability to reshape how you see yourself. When you stop negotiating with fear and start interrupting it with action, you change your identity. You're no longer someone who runs. You become someone who steps forward, no matter how heavy your feet feel. Your fear wants you to believe that something terrible will happen if you act. It tells you that failure is too painful, rejection too embarrassing, and risk too high. But most of the time, the worst-case scenario never arrives. What actually happens is far less dramatic. And even if you do stumble, you discover something far more valuable than safety. You discover your strength. Every bold, small action builds a memory of courage. Over time, those memories replace doubt. They become your evidence that you are capable, not in theory, but in practice. Avoiding fear teaches your brain that fear is in control. Facing fear teaches your brain that you are. It's not about pretending fear doesn't exist. It's about moving anyway. You can be afraid and still walk forward. You can feel your chest tighten, your voice shake, your thoughts race, and still choose to act. That choice, made consistently, reprograms your response to fear. What once paralyzed you becomes familiar. The unknown becomes less threatening, because you've trained yourself to move through it, not around it. One of the greatest lies fear tells is that you're not ready. It convinces you that you need more time, more preparation, more clarity. But readiness doesn't arrive in a package. It's created through motion. Clarity comes from engagement. Confidence grows through repetition. The more you act, the more you realize that readiness was never the issue, hesitation was. Taking bold, small actions every day disrupts this pattern. You stop overthinking and start engaging. You learn by doing. You grow through effort, and you stop giving fear the space to control your decisions. Start where you are, not where you wish you were. Use what you have, not what you hope to gain. It's easy to get stuck in waiting for the perfect time, the ideal moment, the sign from the universe. But the truth is, boldness isn't about conditions, it's about choice. You can choose to act with courage, even if the conditions aren't perfect. You can choose to try, even if success isn't guaranteed. Every time you do, you collect proof that you are not defined by fear. You are defined by what you do in spite of it. You don't need to conquer fear in one massive leap. In fact, trying to do so can often backfire. What you need is momentum, and momentum is built step by step. You might be afraid to speak in public, so start by speaking in a small group. You might be scared to pitch your idea, so start by sharing it with one person. You might dread rejection, so start by asking for something small and learning that rejection doesn't break you. These actions may seem insignificant, but they hold power. They are statements. Each one says, "I move forward anyway," and it's not just about external fear. Some of the strongest fears are internal. Fear of being seen, fear of failure, fear of not being enough. These are not easily defeated, but they don't need to be defeated in a single battle. They need to be faced daily. Each bold, small action is a confrontation. Each time you step forward, you send a message to that fear. I see you, but I'm not stopping. You do this not once, not twice, but every day until the fear has no place left to hide. Boldness isn't about arrogance. It's not about pretending you're fearless. It's about acting with awareness. It's about saying, "Yes, I'm uncertain. Yes, I feel vulnerable. But this step matters more than my comfort." It's about choosing growth over safety. And when you live this way, fear loses its grip, not because it disappears, but because it no longer controls your life. You stop shrinking to fit your doubt. You start expanding to match your purpose. Over time, bold action becomes a habit. It stops feeling like a battle and starts feeling like who you are. You begin to expect yourself to step forward. You become less concerned with approval, less obsessed with outcomes, and more focused on showing up fully. You realize that most of the limitations in your life weren't real. They were mental walls you'd accepted without question. And once you start pushing through them, you see how many doors were always unlocked. You just hadn't reached for the handle. You don't need to be loud to be bold. You don't need to be fearless to take action. You need to be honest about what matters, and then move in that direction. That might look like telling the truth when it's uncomfortable. It might look like asking for help when you'd rather appear strong. It might look like setting boundaries, changing direction, or simply saying no. These acts may seem small, but their impact is massive. They shape who you become. When you look back on your life, it won't be the easy days you remember most. It'll be the moments when you chose to act in spite of fear. The times you showed up for yourself when it was hardest. The decisions that felt uncertain, but led to something better. Every bold, small action adds to that story. Every step you take becomes part of a bigger picture, one where fear no longer dictates your path. So choose one small, bold act today. Don't wait for the fear to leave. Don't wait for the doubt to vanish. Move while they're still there. Show yourself that you're stronger than you thought, not because you feel ready, but because you're willing. That willingness is the doorway. That step is enough. And once you take it, take another. Let fear watch you walk past it. Let it see that you're not here to hide. You're here to move. You're here to rise. You're here to live fully. Not someday, but now. Chapter 8. Surround yourself with people who push you forward. Who you spend time with matters more than most people realize. The people closest to you shape how you think, how you behave, and what you believe is possible. They affect your energy, your confidence, and your standards. If you're serious about growth, you can't leave your environment to chance. You have to be intentional about the company you keep. You must choose to be around those who challenge you to rise, who believe in your potential, and who remind you of your strength when you forget. Growth doesn't happen in isolation, and it rarely lasts in the wrong crowd. If you're always the strongest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Comfort might feel good in the moment, but it robs you of momentum. You need people who push you to think bigger, move faster, and raise your expectations. Not through pressure, but through presence. People whose standards remind you of your own. People who aren't afraid to speak the truth. The kind of people who don't let you settle, not because they're critical, but because they see more in you than you see in yourself. You rise to the level of your circle, whether you realize it or not. Look around. Who are you becoming by staying close to the people currently in your life? Do they bring clarity or confusion? Do they encourage effort or comfort excuses? Do they inspire you to grow or tempt you to drift? If you're surrounded by people who constantly complain, gossip, avoid responsibility, or resist change, it will be hard to stay on track. Not because you're weak, but because human beings absorb what's around them. Even silence can be contagious. Neglect can feel normal, but the opposite is also true. When you spend time with people who are driven, focused and forward-moving, you begin to match their pace. One of the most powerful decisions you can make is to protect your energy. That doesn't mean cutting everyone off at the first sign of negativity. It means choosing who gets access to your attention. You don't owe everyone your time. You owe yourself an environment where your goals are supported, not sabotaged. Sometimes that means letting go of people who no longer align with where you're going. That's not cruelty. It's clarity. You're not judging them. You're simply recognizing that your future needs more than your past can offer. The right people don't just support your dreams, they help sharpen them. They challenge your thinking, introduce new perspectives, and ask better questions. They don't let you hide behind excuses or stay stuck in fear. They encourage you to act, even when it's uncomfortable. They celebrate your wins, not because they need to be included, but because your success doesn't threaten them. When you're surrounded by people who want to see you win, you start showing up differently. You stop shrinking. You stop apologizing for wanting more. You begin to live boldly, without hesitation. It's not always easy to find these people. Sometimes you'll go through seasons where you feel alone. But don't let temporary isolation trick you into returning to unhealthy connections. Use that space to strengthen your identity. Learn to stand firm in your vision, even if no one around you understands it yet. And keep seeking. Join communities. Attend events. Reach out to those who inspire you. Invest in relationships that stretch you. Because when you find those few people who truly push you forward, everything accelerates. Your growth speeds up. Your belief deepens. And your progress becomes consistent. It's not about surrounding yourself with perfect people. It's about choosing those who are committed to growth. People who are honest with themselves and others. People who aren't afraid to admit mistakes, try again, and keep moving. Their presence creates a standard, not one of perfection, but one of persistence. When you're around that energy, it becomes harder to quit on yourself. Their progress reminds you that change is possible. Their effort reminds you that discipline matters, and their mindset helps you refine your own. Great relationships are built, not found. They require honesty, effort, and time. If you want to be surrounded by strong people, you also have to become one. Be the kind of person who uplifts, encourages, and challenges. Offer value. Stay consistent. Communicate clearly. Show up fully. The more intentional you are in how you show up, the more likely you are to attract people who do the same. Relationships aren't about convenience. They're about alignment. The more aligned you are with your values, the easier it becomes to recognize those who belong in your circle. Not everyone will understand your journey, and that's okay. You don't need universal approval. You need a few people who see you, get you, and walk with you. And even if you only have one or two people like that in your life, you're not alone. Protect those relationships. Nurture them. Let them grow. Because the right conversation at the right time from the right person can change your life. Sometimes all it takes is a single sentence from someone who believes in you to reignite your purpose. That's the power of connection built on mutual growth. It's also important to recognize when certain relationships have run their course. Growth often involves letting go. That doesn't mean you're abandoning anyone. It means you're making space. Space for people who elevate, not drain. Space for conversations that build, not break. Space for influence that propels, not pauses. You only have so much capacity. Be careful who you give it to. What you tolerate in your environment, you eventually accept. And what you accept shapes your life. If someone constantly undermines your goals, questions your worth, or pulls you back into old patterns, it's not loyalty to keep them close, it's self-sabotage. When you prioritize being around people who push you forward, you also begin to push yourself forward more often. You take yourself more seriously. You hold yourself to a higher standard. You become more resilient, more focused, more driven, because you know you're not alone. You're part of something bigger than yourself. You're connected to others who are also moving, striving, building. That connection creates momentum, and momentum, sustained over time, leads to massive transformation. Every step you take toward your future gets easier when you're not walking alone. So keep choosing wisely. Keep building intentionally. Keep refining your environment. Because in the end, success isn't just about what you do, it's also about who you're with while you're doing it. Your circle can either drain your purpose or drive your progress. Choose the people who make you better. Stand beside those who want to grow. Build a life where you are constantly pushed, not out of pressure, but out of possibility. And never forget, who you walk with determines how far you go. Chapter 9. Grow every day by learning from real experience. Growth is not something that happens by accident. It demands a commitment to learning, not just from books or theories, but from life itself. Real experience is the ultimate teacher. It strips away assumptions and forces you to face reality directly. Every challenge, every success, every failure carries a lesson waiting to be understood. To grow daily, you must open yourself to those lessons and use them as fuel to move forward. This is not about accumulating knowledge for the sake of knowing. It is about transforming what you learn into meaningful change. Experience provides a mirror that no book or lecture can offer. When you step into a situation, you expose your strengths and weaknesses in a way that feels raw and undeniable. You confront your limitations, your habits, and your thinking patterns. This confrontation can be uncomfortable, but it's necessary. Without it, growth stalls. The key is not to avoid mistakes or setbacks, but to embrace them as signposts. Each mistake reveals a gap in your understanding or approach. Each setback signals a moment to reassess and adapt. Those who succeed are the ones who treat experience like a daily curriculum, actively seeking to learn, not just survive. One of the most valuable skills you can develop is the ability to reflect honestly on your experiences. Reflection is where raw events turn into wisdom. Without it, days pass without meaning or direction. When you pause to ask what worked, what didn't, and why, you begin to take control of your growth. Honest reflection requires humility, the willingness to face uncomfortable truths about yourself. It means setting aside ego and defensiveness. When done consistently, reflection sharpens your judgment and increases your self-awareness. You start recognizing patterns in your behavior and choices that either propel you or hold you back. Learning from experience demands patience and persistence. Growth rarely happens overnight. It is the product of small, consistent adjustments over time. The temptation to expect immediate results is strong, but true progress is built on repeated trials, tests, and tweaks. Each time you try something new, you gain valuable data, even if the outcome isn't what you hoped for. That data is your guide for the next step. When you adopt this mindset, failure becomes a valuable source of insight, not a sign of defeat. The key is to stay committed to the process and to view every experience as a chance to become better. Taking responsibility for your learning means seeking out opportunities to engage with life fully. It's easy to hide in comfort zones where mistakes are less likely, but growth demands action, trying, failing, adjusting, and trying again. It's through active participation that you build resilience and competence. The moments when you push yourself beyond what feels safe are the moments when growth accelerates. Those experiences expand your capacity and deepen your understanding of what's possible. Another vital aspect of growing through experience is to remain adaptable. Life's lessons rarely come in neat packages. Sometimes the insight you gain is subtle or unexpected. Being open to change means you don't cling rigidly to old ideas or habits when they no longer serve you. Flexibility allows you to pivot and respond wisely to new information. It also requires courage to admit when you're wrong or when a different approach is needed. This mindset transforms experience from a source of frustration into a wellspring of progress. Learning from others' experiences can accelerate your growth, but it cannot replace your own. Second-hand knowledge has limits because it lacks the personal context that deepens understanding. You can study a map, but until you walk the terrain yourself, the details remain abstract. Real experience imprints lessons on your mind and spirit in a way that theory never can. This is why action is essential. Without it, learning remains incomplete and your growth stunted. To grow every day, integrate learning into your daily routine. Create moments to review your actions, celebrate small wins, and identify areas for improvement. Journaling, meditation, or simply quiet thought can be powerful tools for this. Set specific goals for what you want to learn from upcoming experiences, then revisit those goals regularly. This focused approach keeps your growth intentional rather than accidental. Over time, these daily habits compound into profound transformation. It's important to remember that experience can test your character as much as your skills. Facing challenges often reveals emotional and mental obstacles you didn't know existed. These moments test your patience, humility, and perseverance. Growing through experience means developing strength, not only in your abilities, but also in your mindset. It means choosing to remain steady, calm, and purposeful, even when the path is difficult or unclear. Discipline in your response to life's trials is as crucial as the lessons the trials themselves provide. The journey of learning from real experience is also about developing gratitude for the process. Even when things don't go as planned, there is value in the struggle. Gratitude for lessons learned shifts your focus from frustration to opportunity. It fuels resilience and encourages a mindset of growth rather than victimhood. When you appreciate the wisdom embedded in experience, setbacks become stepping stones instead of stumbling blocks. Ultimately, growing daily through real experience is a commitment to living fully awake and engaged. It means refusing to coast through life or settle for easy answers. It requires courage to face discomfort, curiosity to seek understanding, and discipline to apply what you learn. When you commit to this path, every day becomes a classroom, and every challenge an invitation. Growth stops being a distant goal and becomes your daily reality. With this mindset, you start noticing progress that wasn't obvious before. Your thinking sharpens, your choices improve, your resilience grows, and your sense of purpose deepens. Experience no longer feels random or overwhelming. Instead, it becomes a trusted guide on your journey. You learn to move through life with intention, clarity, and strength. This is how you transform ordinary days into a powerful practice of growth. You create a life that reflects your highest potential, step by step, moment by moment. Chapter 10. Commit to progress and never stop improving yourself. Progress is not a destination. It's a decision you make daily, a quiet agreement between who you are now and who you're determined to become. The moment you stop chasing perfection and start committing to forward movement, your life changes. Not in dramatic bursts, but in small, powerful shifts that compound over time. Progress is found in the choice to keep showing up, to stay honest about your flaws, and to keep learning despite how far you've come. There is no arrival point. The true path is endless self-improvement, fueled by the discipline to never settle. Improvement requires effort, not once, not occasionally, but every day. You have to wake up and ask yourself, how can I be better than I was yesterday? That question is the cornerstone of a fulfilling life. It keeps you alert. It keeps you responsible. It strips away excuses and places your growth firmly in your own hands. You're not owed success. You're not guaranteed growth. But you can earn it, consistently, deliberately, and quietly, by doing the work. There's no room for entitlement in the process of becoming better. You don't rise by waiting. You rise by acting with intention. People often want transformation without effort, rewards without sacrifice. But real growth demands personal investment. It means choosing discipline over distraction. It means valuing long-term development more than short-term comfort. Every choice you make, how you use your time, how you speak to others, how you handle discomfort, either builds your progress or breaks it down. When you commit to progress, you stop making decisions based on your mood. You make them based on your mission. Some days you'll feel tired, uninspired, or unsure. Those are not reasons to stop. They are moments that test your resolve. If you only improve when you feel like it, you'll stay stuck. But if you improve because you've decided you're worth the effort, then nothing can hold you back. You learn to keep moving forward, not because it's easy, but because it's right. Improvement also means becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable. You don't grow when things are easy. You grow when things challenge you, stretch you, demand more from you than you thought you had. That's where confidence is built, on the edge of your limits. Too many people quit at the first sign of struggle. They misinterpret discomfort as a sign to stop. But discomfort is just the cost of entry to the next level. You earn clarity, skill, and strength through repetition, reflection, and resilience. Progress is deeply personal. No one else can define what it looks like for you. You must decide what matters, what goals deserve your energy, and what habits will shape your future. It's easy to compare yourself to others, but that leads nowhere. Your standard is not who they are. It's who you were yesterday. Improvement is not a competition. It's a responsibility. You owe it to yourself to build a life that reflects your effort and potential, not someone else's approval. Consistency is the heartbeat of growth. Anyone can be motivated for a day or a week. But lasting change comes from steady action repeated over time. You don't need to do everything at once. In fact, the most powerful transformations come from mastering the basics, over and over, until they become part of who you are. Keep your focus narrow. Improve one area at a time. Build strong foundations before reaching higher. That's how true progress is made. Progress also requires humility. You must be willing to admit when you're wrong, when you've fallen short, or when your current approach isn't working. Pride will keep you stuck. Humility opens the door to learning. It makes you teachable. And the most successful people are not the ones who know everything. They're the ones who stay curious, stay open, and keep growing no matter how far they've come. Improvement is not just about doing more. Sometimes it's about doing things differently. The people you surround yourself with matter too. If you want to keep improving, be around those who challenge your thinking, who expect more from you, who inspire you to reach higher. Comfort-based company breeds complacency. Growth-based company pushes you forward. Choose your environment wisely, because it shapes your standards. When you're surrounded by progress-minded individuals, growth becomes your default. You must also protect your time. Progress is impossible without focus. Every hour you waste on meaningless tasks is an hour stolen from your future self. Audit how you spend your day. Ask whether your habits reflect your goals. If they don't, change them. No one is going to force you to grow. That's your responsibility. Make your time count. Choose actions that lead somewhere, not just ones that feel urgent. Celebrate the small wins, not just the big ones. A lot of people wait to feel proud until they've achieved something massive. But real progress is built on small steps taken repeatedly. Recognize the effort, the discipline, the courage it takes to keep going when no one is watching. That's the foundation of self-respect. You don't need applause. You need to know that you're doing what you said you'd do. That quiet integrity will carry you through the difficult days. Stay patient. Progress takes time. Growth doesn't happen in straight lines. There will be moments of frustration, doubt, and fatigue. Don't let those moments define you. Let them refine you. Trust the process. Keep showing up. Keep learning. Keep adjusting. The journey is not about being perfect. It's about becoming more capable, more aware, more disciplined, one day at a time. At some point you'll look back and realize how far you've come. Not because everything changed in an instant, but because you chose not to stop. Every time you pushed through resistance, every time you made a better choice, every time you refused to give up, you built a future worth living. Progress was never about magic or luck. It was about persistence, clarity, and the refusal to waste your potential. So decide. Decide today that you will not settle. Decide that you will keep evolving, regardless of how long it takes. Decide that your growth matters more than your comfort. Make that decision every single day. And no matter what happens, never stop improving yourself.